Hello, listeners. This is Lee Price.
This is Will Ford from Football 365.
And you're listening smartly to At the Bridge Pod, a Chelsea FC podcast, although I would describe it as the Chelsea FC podcast.
Magical from Eden Hazard! Kai Havertz in the Champions League final! Ivanovic! In the middle, it's just behind him, but it's tapped in by Hakim Ziyech. Matic with the ball driver! Matic takes the net off!
It's time for another episode of At the Bridge Pod, your number one Chelsea FC podcast. Coming up on this episode...
Oh, we got mauled by the Wolves. Oh, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of At the Bridge Pod. I'm joined in a virtual room filled with some lions. I've got Ollie, I've got Chris, and there was many a good thing happened over the weekend when you remove the men's team. So, what were your highlights from the weekend, team?
I didn't really have one, to be honest. I didn't really do anything this weekend.
I can go through some lowlights if you want.
Oh, fucking hell. Bloody hell.
No highlights, only lowlights this week.
Yeah. To be fair, until Chelsea women played, I had like a whole weekend of losing football. I was a bit sick. I was a bit sick to death of it by the time the Chelsea women's game started, to be honest.
Yeah,
but,
it was tough.
Yeah, they don't let you down, do they? That's the only Chelsea players who play like Chelsea players.
Yeah,
they was my highlight from the weekend. If you want one,
I'll go with
the women's team.
That's fair. You know what mine is? Mine was this beautiful piece of commentary from the Cape Verde versus South Africa penalty shootout.
Waka waka wagnet Shakira. Samina mina waka waka samina mina sangalewa. This triumph for Africa.
Absolute legend. I believe that is the Arabic commentator on beIN Sports. Well, it was bloody outstanding.
I love the AFCON, man. I really do.
It's so good.
It might be the best international tournament, actually.
It's just full of life, and that's what I absolutely love. A tournament should be getting you on the edge of the seat, making you want to be there.
It's
and just full of life and fun.
It's a festival of football. That's what I love about AFCON. It's just it seems to embody a lot of that magic that I feel like we have lost in the way that football is now.
The game has not gone.
I think that's why as well. Like one of the best World Cups was the 2010 South Africa one.
100%.
Yeah.
I've always said that's my favourite. It will never ever be topped, I don't think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, right, we'll hit some news. We do have a double match report. We do. I just wanted to quickly bring this up because I have to. I said it on Twitter, so I kind of have to stick by it. Alex Goldberg was on the Byline pod, and apparently this is what RJ Good Things sort of summarised in his tweet from that pod. And it was, 1, players are not showing the willingness to do extras after training, including leaving immediately post-training or not staying to chat with coaching staff, etc. 2, data showing players have physically regressed since the start of the season, lack of progress, motivation. And some players, example, Caicedo and Enzo, currently over their optimal playing weight. 3, players not responding well to individual analysis provided by data teams. 4, a staff member that has been at Chelsea for 15 years rates his squad as the worst he's ever seen, with no clear, capable players that are able to perform cohesively within a team construct. 5, overall squad imbalance, poor squad building, players recruited that have excelled under a specific style, system, positional play, and consequently lack independence and natural problem-solving creativity. 6, recruitment disconnect, too many voices in recruitment that are providing opposing views and lack coordination and cohesion. And 7, while there's acknowledgement of the various issues Poch is dealing with, there is unrest forming within the Chelsea hierarchy. However, the concern is who would be able to come in and progress forward with this squad. Oh, my word. That's a very good Netflix documentary coming. You just know. Oh, you're silent, and I know why. What can you say to it?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like, what else can you say? Yeah, that's all true. Most likely. It's very depressing. It's really frustrating to hear that all of the things that we've kind of feared about this team and this club since Bowley and co have come in has kind of turned out to be true. And I think a lot of people are dealing with that, and it's really nobody's enjoying realizing that.
Yeah. The biggest thing out of that for me is the whole players not doing extra and that sort of stuff. And that's what happens when you rid a club of anyone who bears any standard whatsoever. None of these players have been at big clubs before. So they don't know what it's like to be at a big club, and there's no one there to tell them. And that's the problem. That's when you get rid of all your experienced players who are used to winning things or used to being in big clubs, pressured environments where they know that it's not just the 90-minute game and the 2 hours training. You have to do more because you have to be at your absolute best every single game.
There's sacrifice. You've got to make sacrifices.
Yeah. When you get rid of all those players, it's the blind leading the fucking blind, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's like a playground at the minute. It's like a playground. There's no leaders there. They're all just fucking about.
That is. I mean, look, I don't play for Chelsea, but I would probably qualify to play for Chelsea based on my ability. I mean, when I'm at the gym, if I've finished early, and if I finish at about, say, within an hour, and I've got like 20 minutes before I hit the hour, I usually think, you know what, I'm going to do something extra. Might be a long uphill walk or something stupid. I'm putting in the extra hours. Why aren't the team? I mean, yeah. You know what? We'll go positive because there is a double game review on the horizon, and that is because we head to Kings Meadow. And here is that match report. Emma Hayes made significant changes to the starting lineup for our match against Everton at Kings Meadow. 10 alterations from our previous outing against Paris FC in the Champions League. Among the newcomers into the side were Ramirez, making her full debut, and came close to marking the occasion with an early goal, but was stopped by a last-ditch tackle. Despite the Everton resilience, we managed to break that deadlock just before the half-hour mark when Reiten calmly converted a penalty that was awarded for a foul on Reiten Canarid. Although we created numerous chances, we eventually doubled our lead with another confidently taken spot kick by Reiten. As the game progressed, Hayes made some strategic subs, bringing on Nushkern, Kirby and Fischl, and they combined effectively to set up Cuthbert's goal late in the game. It was absolutely beautiful football they played, and it was a comfortable victory, and we remained top of that WSL table. Chelsea 3, Everton 0. It was a controversial game. 2 penalties, a manager was sent off, and a full Ramirez debut. I mean, Chris, where do you wish to begin with a positive Chelsea result?
Yeah, which was really nice, especially for anyone who watched the game on the Saturday.
Yeah,
and still wasn't over it, which I don't think any of us were. Yeah, positive. I mean, it wasn't the best game. It was another game that we dominated, but we just seem to be lacking something at the top end of the pitch, and I think it's a little bit of cohesion at the minute. Just a little bit of that sort of instinctive play that we had last year. Obviously, when you've got like Reiten and Kerr, they had like a telepathic partnership last season at times where they just knew where each other were, and I just think we're lacking that a little bit with the changeover of people, and then Kerr's injury, obviously, and Reiten's been injured and still not quite back to her best. The first penalty, at first I didn't think it was a penalty either.
I loved our little arguments on that. I was like, that's a pen.
But
it's a pen.
But when you see the follow through, it's a dangerous tackle. She clearly wins the ball, fair play, but the follow through is dangerous, and you're always going to get them given in modern football. The one player I would like to talk about actually is Bjorn at the back. I think she's made such a difference since she's come in. It's the most composed at the back we've looked all season. Very solid, seems to be commanding the back line as well. I think Jess Carter's form has improved since she came in, which suggests to me that she's also helping Jess through the game now as well.
Them two need to be our defensive partnership for the rest of the season, to be fair.
Yeah.
They were outstanding.
I think she's come in and she's been outstanding, and it's another win for the recruitment in the women's team. Ramirez looked lively. Shame she couldn't have got a goal. But yeah, she's very technically gifted, and she does have a turn of pace, which is important in the women's game. To have in your forward line, and she played her part, didn't she, in one of the goals as well.
Yeah. I mean, you are right. It wasn't the best. I mean, that was my first note I put down. Wasn't the best game to watch. Not going to lie to you all. No, it wasn't. But hey, a win's a win. 3 goals are 3 goals. And the other positives, that's back-to-back clean sheets. That's important to point out, I feel. That sort of tells you as well about our defence. And right, okay, penalties. Many a thought is on social media. The first one, it for me, stand by it. It was clear as day because it was that follow through for me. The second one's a bit softer, but there's nothing to do with the penalty. Let's not get this mixed up. Everton didn't look like they were going to score regardless. And that's saying something, because their scoring record this season is the lowest in the WSL with 10. So I wasn't really there going, they might make their way back into this game. No,
it definitely wasn't a pen.
No. It's the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel that's fair.
The second one's not a pen at all, because the one making the challenge pulls out of the challenge completely. She does catch, like, it's not a dive either. It's one of those where there's contact, but it's not enough to be a penalty. It should have just been the goal kick. That's another poor one. But again,
I think they call that the Anthony Taylor special, don't they?
Yeah, that's it.
Very subjective.
Or Paul Tierney now at Anfield.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing with the Chelsea performance, I feel like there's a sort of a trend I'm sort of noticing. That's like, we start a bit slow and then we turn up in the second half. And that's becoming regular, which, I mean, everybody, for me, I put in my notes here, I put that everyone except for Lauren James put in a good shift. And maybe that's a bit harsh or critical, but I felt Erin, she was rock solid, no doubt about that.
Yeah,
and the partnership with Melly was really, really clicking.
Yeah.
And I loved what I saw when Kirby came on. And we've already touched on Carter and Bjorn becoming quite good in that partnership. But there's always a stat drop for me. And the stat drop honour this episode, it goes to Erin Cuthbert, because against Everton, 90 minutes played, 1 goal, 53 accurate passes, 3 chances created, that's the most, 88 touches, 3 of 4 successful dribbles, 7 of 9 accurate long balls, 3 interceptions, 12 recoveries, 7 ground duels won. What about that development as a player?
She's magic, isn't she?
Wow. Yeah. It's something that deserves so much more attention. Came in as a winger. Emma's guidance, been transforming into a more well-rounded midfielder. She's got that strength to outmuscle anyone. And this season, she has added impressive technical skills and, of course, the goal-scoring ability. I feel like I've said this about many a player this season, but player of the season so far?
Maybe.
Got to be in the conversation. I'd say most consistent.
Most
consistent player. So, obviously, everyone's going to go to Lauren James for player of the season, but Lauren James is either a 10 or a 5. Like, there's very rarely in between. She's either unbelievable and wins the game by herself, or you don't really see her. Bit like
the
this game.
Azpilicueta, no 7 out of 10s.
Yeah. Whereas Erin's just, you're getting a 7, and you might get a 9. But she'll be somewhere between there. She's never going to be really bad. She just isn't. I think she's the most all-round central midfielder in the league.
Yeah, I think that you've made a good point there. I mean, I always think either she stands out or she doesn't. And what wasn't her best game, but the thing is, we won 3-0. I've got to give a shout out, because if I don't, someone's going to say, how can you not comment on that absolutely beautiful play for Cuthbert's goal. It was so good.
Yeah.
It was like Tika-taka football in its prime. So good.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
It was.
oh my word. So good.
The official playing the Giroud role.
Yes. Oh, so good. It's just outstanding. It really, really was. Right. From a positive Chelsea performance, we need to go to the match report sponsored by I'm glad we didn't sign John Duran because Chelsea aren't alive. We're all drowning wine. We're all down in wine and we got mauled by the Wolf. Yeah. Chelsea 2, Wolves 4. It was a bad day and it's a bad day now to ask for winners. But winners I must ask for. I have one. I'm never this negative. Never.
Well.
Bloody, I've got to pull Berths up because he's not here today, but he's definitely had. I don't know if he did put some winners down. He probably did.
He did.
Well,
he put one.
He put down. I've just read a complete different message because that's my message, not his. He said no one because they're all fucking useless.
Yep.
British sense of humour there. Oh, wow.
I've got 5. I've got 5 winners.
Yeesh.
What?
Yep.
What?
I've got 5 winners.
I guarantee none of them played. None of them played for Chelsea yesterday.
I can read them all out in a row if you want.
Oh, go on then.
Brighton, Southampton, Benfica, Leicester, Shakhtar. Those are the 5 clubs that have scammed us for hundreds of millions of pounds.
Oh my word!
By selling us average players for world-class fees. Brighton have done it a couple of times.
Oh.
Southampton sold us a £60 million player, apparently, although no one's seen him play.
I know. I still feel like I've never seen him play for us.
Benfica sold us Enzo Fernandez, who I will come on to later. Leicester sold us Wesley Fofana, who again doesn't play football but cost us 80 million. And then Shakhtar sold us Mudryk, who I am still convinced is some sort of money laundering scam.
I mean, my winner was the media, and that is because as soon as Bell Silver dropped that tweet stating it's time to change, you just knew the media was salivating at every narrative that they could write, every question that they could ask, and how many clicks those articles were going to get. I mean, anytime when a family member or a loved one or a close friend that's related to a player in any sport, literally any sport, says something publicly on social media or puts it in the public, area, people are just going to assume it came from the player themselves. Doesn't matter whether that's true or not, or if it's just that one individual's opinion. Yeah. Doesn't matter. They will always look at that and go, that came from the player, that did. And
Just on that though, I actually really don't like that at all. Because although she's right, everyone knows that she's right. We're not blind, but I don't think it's helpful. I don't see who it helps. I don't think putting that sort of stuff out there. It's a bit like when Pulisic's dad kept going on about stuff. Like, I don't know who it helps.
Do you think she actually did mean it in terms of the manager? Because she could have just meant like subs in the game.
I feel like
this
is the problem, though, isn't it? Without context,
there's a lot of
it's hard
plausible
to tell.
deniability there, isn't there? Like in terms of the gap about what actually was said and what was meant. But the thing is, I think is that the fan base have now, in my opinion, shifted so overtly to Poch out more so than Poch in that's what they took from it anyway.
Yeah,
it's a bad sign when the most experienced leader in the team's wife is sort of saying this about the coach. We assume. I mean, she's not wrong. I'm not gonna criticize it because I think it's frustrating because it kind of feels like no one gives a damn in the club. I'm not expecting players to come out and go, oh yeah, fair. I should really put him as an honourable winner. Ben Chilwell, he didn't have a good game. He really didn't, but he came out and at least he spoke. I mean, some players it doesn't even seem that. I mean,
yeah, he wishes he hadn't though with the backlash he's got from it.
Well, to be fair, what he said was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like he's right to come out and say it, but what he said was thick as 2 short planks.
It was.
There aren't any excuses. He is right when he says, it wasn't good enough. But You know what? We'll move to losers, and
hang on. I've got a winner.
Oh, you've got. Of course. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
I had one. My win's dead quick. It's the bookies because they're going to make a lot of money on the odds for who's going to be the next Chelsea coach.
Yeah, that's true.
I was literally.
I think the leader in the odds at the moment is Roberto De Zerbi. For those of you,
someone stupid.
Yeah, another one from Brighton.
Here we go.
Oh, it's not going to be De Zerbi. It won't be De Zerbi. We'll break FFP.
We'll talk about it.
We'll break FFP if we do that. My loser is almost like a little rant, so I feel like I shouldn't say my loser yet. Berth, though, Berth's put his loser in, and Berth had said his loser was all of them because they're all fucking useless.
Yeah, good. Good.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man, there's a trilogy for this. He's got a question he's put in as well, which you'll find out later. But, Ollie, have you got more than 11 losers?
I have one singular loser.
Wow. Is it us for having to review this?
I wish it was. You could call us honorary losers because we have to relive it every week.
We do.
But my loser is just Chelsea. It's just become overwhelmingly clear to me that the ownership do not know what they're doing, especially with the new, like you spoke about at the top of the show, about players and how they don't seem to respect anybody and they're not getting on with the coach and they don't want to do anything and the owners aren't happy and then disagreeing up top with this and that. It just feels like that things that go on at well-run clubs like this stuff doesn't happen, and I think we're a victim of a lot of our own choices, a lot of really poor choices, some good, admittedly, but majority of which in the last short while have been really, really poor, actually. You could say whether it's around recruitment, you could say whether it's about the recruitment of the people doing the recruiting, you could say whether it's about the club as a whole, but the problem is at the very end, the buck has to stop at the owners. And they have willfully and maybe just by trying to do too much too fast, have absolutely ruined the club in 2 seasons. Like it's an unprecedented thing to happen on any scale, especially in elite sport. And I don't know what the solution is. I think a lot of us as Chelsea fans are feeling very lost at the moment, a bit rudderless. And so that's kind of where I'm at, where it just feels to me that we don't really know where we go from here. It just feels like we're spending another season spinning our wheels, not going anywhere, all the while City and Liverpool and Arsenal and even Man United all get better without us. Like before long, it's going to be the case where we're just stuck down here in mid-table, and then that will be the new reality, and we need to do everything in our power to stop that happening.
Yeah, the new standard, which would suck. I mean, look, I said to you all last night, I was likely going to just do a freestyle for the loser section because there are so many losers that I can't count from this game, and that's got nothing to do with my math skills. Look, let me tell you, Poch's excuses kind of feel like they're reaching levels that I ain't seen before. He was talking before the game about a lack of height in the midfield and no set piece specialists. I mean, come on, that ain't the root of the problem. We've been watching this Pochettino-led squad it's been half a year. I'll be damned if anyone can tell me what our game plan is.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong.
What is it?
When I was going on that rant about the owners and stuff, like definitely in terms of a recruitment, I'm referring to Pochettino as well. He's not the one. He's not the guy. He just isn't.
I mean, it doesn't help as well. You could go, well, injuries? Nah, that dog don't hunt no more. Sure, Reece James was out, but look, that ain't no excuse for the way we played. There was other players that we had out, top players that we rely on, Reece James being a key one. And obviously we've also had such as Fofana, top player, but hasn't been on the field. Ben Chilwell's still technically coming back from injury because he's clearly not fully fit to play. But they just look scared. It's like they're afraid. None of them are afraid to take a risk. Though, to do a king, to go for it. Look at how we sort of turned it up in that final stretch of the game. We had nothing to. Look, that's garbage time. Anything that happens then, it don't matter. The result was going to be a loss. Great, you kicked on for the last 10 minutes. We ain't going to come back. And I don't think any fans actually thought at the time, I think we might pull one. Oh, we might score another 2. It wasn't going to happen. I mean, Chris.
You know what they look like? They look like a group of people who are walking around the woods without a map. Like they just don't know what they're doing. Like we played against a Wolves team who have had their manager in charge for the same amount of time that Poch has been in charge of us. And they looked well coached with a game plan where the players knew what they was doing and how to execute it. And we don't. So the excuse for Poch of he needs to be given time and he's had some injuries. Everyone in the league's had injuries this year. Everybody has had injuries this year. It's no excuse anymore. Like there's the reason that the thing with Poch is all of the problems at the club are not his, and we all know that. And there is no way that you sack him and it suddenly becomes magical and we finish in the top 4. Won't happen. But at the same time, there are other managers in this league doing a lot more with a lot less.
Yeah.
People keep telling us that this squad is really bad, and we watch them play. We know how shit these players can be, but then we also know how good they can be. And you look at Tottenham's team, for example, on paper and compared to us, man for man, you wouldn't take many Tottenham players over us.
No.
So why are they 4th and we're 11th? It's got to be down to coaching. Unai Emery took over Villa and he had the same players Steven Gerrard had, and their results was polar opposite.
Well, they went from like 14th up into like 7th or something, like up into Europe.
Because they was coached. So you can't judge players all the time under poor managers, because players will play bad under poor managers. That's just a fact. And then players, even average players,
bad though. It's just mediocre managers, and this is why we get the hot and cold. Like
and the
some
thing
games
is,
it's good because Poch does well, and in other games it's bad because he doesn't. And
like I'm not saying that these players are good players. Like some of them, I think are bang average. However, bang average players,
they're better than that though, aren't they?
Under a good manager, he brings them up a level. This is why you see such drastic dips in form in clubs and the same players when good managers leave, because those players start playing at their level. Good managers elevate players. That's what they do. Great managers elevate their players. They hide all their weaknesses. They find a system and a way of playing that hides all of their weaknesses. And then when they leave and another manager exposes them all, everyone goes, "Oh, these players are shit." Yes, they are. They were shit then too, but they had a good manager, and that's what
you could argue. Look at Villa when they went from Gerrard to Emery. Wow, that was a turnaround.
But the problem is our issues now are compounded because all our players are on such long contracts that any of them are going to reasonably outlive any manager.
I mean,
so like they can always say, "Well, I'll just sit on my deal." They're not going to sell me, and maybe I'll choose not to go, and I'll just sit and make my money. Whereas it's easier for them to just sack the manager again, and they can keep their very expensive.
Glad you brought that up, because
it's a problem there.
Winstanley and Stewart ought to be packing their bags.
Both should be sacked.
Look at the sorry excuse that we've assembled for a squad with the kind of money they had to work with. That's embarrassing. I mean, you have to say it. I mean, that ain't even the whole story. I mean, this team are currently, unless I'm wrong, sitting at 11th in the league. We're halfway through a season. There's no clear game plan. And that does fall on the shoulders of the manager. And I haven't seen a piece of evidence yet to suggest Pochettino is the man for the job here at Chelsea. And that sucks again to say, because pre-season looked good, but after that, you could say League Cup final. Yeah, but we had one away game and we lost it. We've had one away game in that draw and we lost it to Borough. And
when you look at the money that we have,
that's the thing, wasted.
Especially those two specifically, Stewart and Winstanley. Some of their buys have been good or good enough, and that's fine. But when you think about, for example, I know they're the expensive ones and everyone harps on them and hates them as a result, but I'm just using them as an example here. For what Enzo and Caicedo cost, we could have got Bellingham.
Oh,
and
I think we
Rice.
could have got even more.
Can you imagine
players
how much better we'd be?
I mean,
how much in a better position we'd be if we had that, like just like some general forethought at the time. Both Bellingham and Rice were regarded better than Caicedo
I'll tell you what,
and Enzo.
Yeah.
So
what
why
gets
not
under
go
my
for them?
skin with this is when the ownership took the reins of our club, all they had to do was tweak a few things. Yes, there was some issues, yes, but the groundwork was laid out for them. But they just went, nah. They just came in, zero know-how, and wreaked havoc. No good reason. Threw out all the experience, brought in their own young players, long contracts, and not a damn thing has got better or moved forward as the seasons have come.
Do you know what? This is what they've done, right? Imagine they're building a house. What they've done is they've bought a house off someone else, and the house is perfectly all right. It's a bit old, a bit rickety. It's got a few issues here and there. Only needs some minor repairs, but it's mostly fine. It's good value. It's a nice house, and it's been one of the best houses on this street for a while. And then what the guy decides to do is to tear down the house and rip up the foundations, and then complains that there's a hole in his front garden.
One of the biggest mistakes I think that they've made is when they first came in. The long contracts thing was. I understand why they did it from a financial point of view, but it's ludicrous. You put players in that much safety, you're not going to get anything from them. And you're going to put your club in a terrible state if you ever want to sell them. But the one that stands out to me was when Todd Bowley first came in, and he said about the fans having more voice.
Ooh, good shout.
This is what you get, because football fans are fucking stupid. And what pisses me off now, right, is all these Chelsea fans who are sitting on their high horse saying, oh, we've wasted money on him and we've wasted money on him. They bought every single player that these people wanted. Wasn't a single one of these fans moaning when we brought these players. They was all buzzing their tits off like, oh, these are the greatest players in the world. We're going to win the Champions League. That's what they were saying. No one moaned about us signing Mudryk. No one moaned about Fernandes. Everyone was absolutely clawing away and clambering over each other for Caicedo. Oh, we can't let him go to Liverpool. It'd be the biggest embarrassment ever. Pay whatever they want. They did, and this is what we get. Fans should not have an opinion in recruitment. And I think one of the biggest mistakes they've made is they have listened to fans when it's come to who should we sign.
It's an interesting point. And actually, yeah. I mean, we know they look on social.
I feel like they would have signed some. I think it's a mix of both. I think they look at what would be a popular signing. I think, and if that's in one of the choices, that does influence their decision.
Yeah,
I'm not sure they just go onto Twitter and see
who knows.
Maybe they do, but
I don't know. When he first came in, I'm pretty sure that's what he did.
Yeah, do you know what? Like, I'm almost like to give Bowley a bit more of a pass. One, because he was doing stuff right at the start when there was absolutely nothing in place at all, and he was having to do a lot of stuff, a lot of different things, and he was behind, and he wasn't a sporting director, and now he's stepped back from the club and everything. Whereas now it's just like, it feels like this is the plan. It feels like this is how we operate now. Whereas then that felt very transitional. This feels ordinary, and that's much worse.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, I know you did say you've got a second rant lined up. The listeners love it; they do love it. So, hey, you can deliver it. We'll give you your soapbox. Go on.
Well, of all, so when I was voting down my list, I put every player except Petrovic, because I think he's being hung out to dry at the minute. You almost feel sorry for him at the minute. But. So I don't think there's any point going through specific players in terms of, oh, I've picked these three this week, because you could have picked anyone, let's be honest. I think it's time to have the conversation about Enzo Fernandez again, though, because I have never seen a player get such a free pass. So if you went on socials after this game, it was all about Gallagher and Caicedo. And Enzo got a complete free pass in this game, despite the fact that he did absolutely nothing. He had no bearing on the game at all. The game would have been exactly the same whether he was there or not. And he's got this, I don't know really. He's got this real protection from that I haven't seen since the year after Kai Havertz had scored in the Champions League final.
Oh,
after Havertz scored that goal for the next 6 months, he was the most protected Chelsea player I'd ever seen. He was dropping shit performance after shit performance, and everyone kept saying about he was being played out of position. He wasn't being used right. He's a generational talent. Can't believe he's being wasted under poor managers. All the same shit you hear every week about Enzo Fernandez. He's not a generational talent. He's a worse version of Jorginho. He keeps the ball. He plays the occasional long pass, more of which go out of play than actually find someone or are hit too short and the defender just heads it away. So this whole notion that he's got this incredible passing range is just bollocks. It's just that's again just come out of nowhere. Someone's seen him do it in one game and went, okay, that's what he does. So but we won't have to watch him play again because we'll just assume that he's done that every game. He doesn't score goals. He doesn't make goals. He doesn't win tackles. He doesn't get interceptions. The lead up to the Disasi goal, he should cut that ball out, and he actually puts the ball past Thiago Silva in the build up. I don't know what he does. He is one of those players where he reminds me of, if I was to compare him to something, he's like buying perfume from a market. The bottle looks nice and it may say a brand on it, but that's not what you're getting. He's got the tattoos and the haircut, and everyone loves him, and he's being touted as a future captain. And apparently, he loves Chelsea, which is absolute bullshit. Because I guarantee at some point within the next year, his agent's angling for a move away. So I don't understand why he has this such protection when it's because people are always putting down Gallagher and Caicedo, and he's being just as bad as they are. So at least be consistent with it. They're all shit. The reality is, at the minute, they are all shit. So you've got to put them all in the category together because he isn't doing anything, and I just don't understand. I watch him every week, and I don't understand what these people are seeing.
I mean, how do we come back from that, Ollie?
I mean, like, I don't personally feel all the time that way about Enzo, but I do see the point, and I do feel that way sometimes about him, because we just need, like, for again, like, he can't help what he costs, same as Caicedo.
Agreed.
But for over 100 million, you would expect more than we've got from both of them. And so that's just an unavoidable thing at this point. But if you're going to blame anyone for that, sure, the player. Yeah, they could be doing more. Sure, the coach, they could be doing more. But also the people who decided to spend 100 million on a couple of players who don't properly influence games in terms of goals, assists, things like that. Like, you got to remember, at the end of the day, we spent 100 million on 100 million each on two midfielders and didn't buy an established striker.
Which still sounds wild. The fact that we
sounds silly. You think about, what do you need for a functioning, like a really strong functioning football team? You need a really good keeper, a really good centre back, a good midfielder, and a good striker. Those are the four things you need. And we've bought two midfielders and no striker and no keeper.
What's even funnier, Ollie, is we spent 200 million on two midfielders. The year after, we'd all been saying the two things we needed was a creative midfielder who gets goals and assists and a defensive midfielder. We spent 200 million on two midfielders who are neither of those things. We bought a box-to-box midfielder and someone who just passes the ball. Like, it's the recruitment is ridiculous. Everyone knew we needed a Bruno Fernandes type midfielder who gets goals and assists, and then we needed a Matic who sits in front of the back four and breaks things up. And they signed neither of those things.
We know this. We can tell you this stuff. Like, and so how can we see this? But the data analysts and the people who are actually whose job it is to work this out can't see this. I just don't understand it.
Ridiculous.
Right, positive ending. I'll do it because there's people listening that need that. They want that positivity, and
We've got to have people need to come back.
I usually deliver it. So look, despite everything that I've said, my love and passion for this club will remain unwavering and unconditional. I always do my best to catch every game, enduring the disappointment week after week. It's just in the hope, that somehow, some way, things will turn around. And I can only imagine how disheartening it must be for those of you who listen, who attend the matches, spend your hard-earned money to get to the game. Yep, and purchase a ticket. You're investing your money into this team. And I'd ask, are your feelings any different from mine, Chris, Ollie, how we feel right now? From my point of view, I saw fans leaving early, expressing their frustration through boos and various chants. And I can assume, based on that you're feeling that disheartenment too. But nonetheless, I'll be there this coming Wednesday against Villa. I'll be watching. My support for this club will not waver, even though my confidence now it's sort of in the departure lounge. But it's still there. It's still there. And I'm hopeful of a good result.
No matter how bad we are, you will always have At the Bridge Pod to come and have a moan with.
Damn right, yeah.
I think we're all with you there, Mikey. I think the biggest issue for Chelsea fans at the minute, and I don't think there'll be many who disagree, is that we'll never stop supporting the club, and we'll continue to go to games and watch games, and regardless of how bad it gets, always be there. But I think we've never felt so disconnected from the club, and I think.
What's mad though is how many times we've said that, seemingly being at a new low in the past 2 seasons.
It's just that thing, isn't it? Where I just think at the minute it's hard because you're always telling supporters that you have to support the players, but this is a really hard group to get behind. It's a really hard group to support.
No, they're reasonably likable until you see them play.
Because they're just not giving everything. Like the Chelsea teams I grew up with they wasn't always the best football teams, but they was hard working. You knew what you was going to get. Every
they
single
were the
player
best
was
team.
going to. Yeah,
yes,
they was going to leave
point.
everything out there. There wasn't a player coming off the pitch you thought he ain't put a shift in today. It just didn't happen. They had bad days, but you still supported them because they tried.
Yeah. Right. Emojis. I just went with a sad face. I was just sad. I was like,
I'm gonna be juvenile poo emoji. Wolf poo to be specific.
Chris.
I'll go with the skull because I think this game was the one that killed Pochettino.
Club's dead.
Right. Line of the week. And the lines of the weekend were Nkunku, Gilchrist, Chukwuemeka, and Gallagher. So we just move on.
Move on.
We'll move on.
You know what? I picked Gilchrist, and that's not a bad shout because I don't think he played. Did he?
He did.
He came on. Made a mistake. Made a mistake that nearly led to a goal. He's proper Chelsea.
Yeah. Right. Lion of
the
midweek time as we head on the road to Villa Park for the FA Cup replay against Villa. I'm
Petrovic.
You've gone Petrovic. I'm going to spin the wheel whilst Chris decides.
I think Mikey's really cruel to make us keep picking every week.
I am.
It's a cop out here to use the wheel. I picked Petrovic solely because he's been the only player who hasn't let us down recently.
I've got Dujon Richards, which there we go.
Well,
wow,
he's not playing then, is he?
I don't know.
So Mikey wins this week because he's picked the only player who ain't going to play.
Yep. Is he eligible? I know he came back from his loan spell.
I don't think so. Berth picks Bettinelli, of course. He would have picked Broja, but he's gone now.
We'll spin again. I'll spin again. Chris, who are you picking?
Oh, I don't know. I've got to get a wheel because what's the point of this?
Well, I've just got Mark Cucurella, and that's not happening.
Well, pick someone who you think might play and maybe won't disappoint you.
So someone is going to come as a sub for 10
minutes.
Oh, no.
That bad. Yeah, even if that's the case.
I've got to stick with this one. I'm so sorry, Chris. It's Enzo.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Good luck, Mikey.
He definitely will play, I think.
Well, in fairness, on socials, he'll have a great game. So you're
Yeah,
probably.
actually, I'm lying.
Chris, come on, who are you going? Who are you going?
I'm gonna go with. I think I picked him in the last game too, but
Yeah,
I'll
he's
go
been
with
all right.
Chukwuemeka again.
Good shout. Good shout. Questions, and of course, the first of all, got to go with the At the Bridge pod question that was sent in by Berth, and his question is, why are we so fucking useless? There's the trilogy of just you. Oh man, if you were taking a shot right now,
I think we've spent all pod covering that, haven't we?
It's like a game of limbo with Chelsea at the moment. It's just how low can you go?
I mean, we got one question in, and it's from Victoria, who asked, "What do we do now?"
Good question.
That's a great question.
I mean, I did write an answer down here, and I genuinely mean this 100%. And I put, honestly, if you want to watch a team who are outstanding, competent, and play with passion, that's the thing, passion for the badge, watch the women's team. If you don't already, because get behind them, because they deserve that love. They deserve your passion and support, because I've watched them for a fair few seasons, and obviously, as everyone knows, this is our first proper season covering the team, and each game that I've watched, I've loved every single moment doing so, because I'm seeing 11 players play for that badge. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I would say now. Firstly, I think we've got to get rid of Poch, because it's just not working. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think.
I think a lot of us were proved
it
right about Poch in the first,
even when he got
recently.
Yeah. And I know there's a lot of talk about Mourinho now. The reason why I would do that, and bring him back in, is I don't think the results on the pitch would drastically improve. I think they'd improve. Because he knows how to get teams who don't have the best players. He knows how to set up a team to get results. But also, we need someone who is going to raise the standard again. And I would rather have him in for what he's going to do more between the matches with these players, ensuring that they are doing the work that they need to do, teaching them what it's like to be at a big club, and putting the demands on them that should be there. So I'm not saying he would come in and make us brilliant, and it would only be a short-term thing with him. But at the same time, there is no doubt that he would instantly demand more from these players, and they would have to do it, or they wouldn't play. He's dropped bigger players than these before at other clubs, so that wouldn't bother him at all. So
I'm pretty sure he dropped Ronaldo once.
Yeah, I mean, look what he did with Juan Mata. He sold our Player of the Year 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? He's not scared to make those decisions, and I just think at the minute what these players are really lacking is leadership, and
that's what I feel
like
as well.
The
with
ultimate
Mourinho.
leader.
It feels like he's like these players. A lot of them are really young. They need, like, in terms of like a coaching, like a father figure, someone who they really respect and look up to.
Yeah.
And don't want to disappoint, because let's be honest, they're on big wages. They're young players, the young, confident young men. Like, they're going to think they're invincible in a lot of cases, like all, in whatever they're doing. So you need someone who's done more than them to be there to keep that ego in check, right? And tell them, you're nothing. Look what I've done. If you work twice as hard as that, you might win half as much if you're good enough. And as a result of that's what sets the standard. Like you say, Chris, I don't think football would improve that much. I don't think the results would improve that much. But you would almost want Mourinho for everything he does outside of management. You want him to be the person setting the standard and reminding the players of what it's like to play for Chelsea. Yeah. The other thing that you have to do is you have to sack Winstanley and Stewart as well. Ultimately, and potentially even Carl McCauley and Joe Shields as well, because if the whole recruitment team at the moment, it's just not set up to an environment that's conducive. It's not working. Like we seem to be bringing in players around with different profiles in the same position at the same age, but for different philosophies and different managers. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like you need and if you want to keep them and have them just do recruitment because they've picked some good players, that's great. But don't make them sporting directors. You need a director of football who is going to oversee that, speak to the owners, and who's really, really good at his job or her job or their job, and understand what it means to run an elite club, and that needs to come from them. So you have a play style, and you have a project, if you want to call it that, and you have a philosophy that suits the club, and everything works towards that goal. Because at the moment, everything's pulling in a different direction. Everyone's working in silos, and obviously that's not going to work.
Yeah. And the thing is, like that is something as well, though, that Mourinho is very good at. Like that's what he did at Roma. They was a club floundering. They was all over the place when he went in there. He has a way of pulling everyone together, and I feel as though that's what the club really need at the minute. Instantly, instantly the fans back him. We know
gets more time than most
the fans back him straight away. So he gets the fans on board. Then he'll start protecting the players, and he'll start making the fans like the players again, which is exactly what he did at Roma. So then they start supporting the players as well, like we was just saying, which is difficult to do at the minute because we don't like most of them. But he has a way of just pulling everything together and making it
siege
like
mentality.
an us against the world
he makes
thing.
It a lot
and I think
about himself as well.
That's what we need.
I think a lot of these young players, especially like you say, they've never been at a big club before. They're in the spotlight all the time, and a lot of them, I think, don't know how to deal with it. And Mourinho, like someone bigger than them coming through, who's bigger spotlight, a bigger arsehole, and a big mouth coming out and saying all of the stuff that's going to make everyone go crazy at them, so they can just get along with it and develop quietly by themselves alone and become the professionals they need to be. Like
exactly,
it's a funny thing because, like I said, more than anything, you want Mourinho for everything else he does rather than the management side of it. But I'd take the management side of it at this stage anyway.
Right, let's have a positive end with a game of Archie Thompson's Top Trumps.
Yes.
And the category is the summer 2023.
What's positive about that?
Now, I'm going to give you a player. Well, hold up. I'm going to give you a player who moved in that exact window, and you got to tell me if they cost more or less than the previous player. And we're not including add-ons, and all prices are in euros per transfer marks. So we start with James Trafford, who moved from City to Burnley for 17.3 million, which I forgot that was that much. Chris, it is a lot of money.
It really is.
You've got Christian Pulisic from Chelsea to AC Milan. Did he cost more than 17.3?
Oh, that's a hard one.
Do you know what? I actually can't remember how much we sold him for, but I think it started with a 1. You know, I'm gonna say more, but not.
It was 20 million euros. Ollie, you've got Pedro Porro.
He is quite well coveted. I think he would have gone for at least 30 million euros. I'll go for more.
He was 40, double the price of a Pulisic. Wow. Chris, you've got Robert Sanchez from Brighton to Chelsea. More or less than 40. It was 28.7 million euros. Ollie, you've got Antoine Griezmann, who moved from Barcelona to Atletico.
That's a tough one. He's gone back and forth to places a few times. Is his stock higher now than it was before? I don't really watch La Liga.
Did he cost more or less than 28.7 million euros?
I'm going to say less.
You're right, because he only cost 20 million. Yeah. Alex Iwobi from Everton to Fulham, Chris.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Do you know what? It's probably more, but my head's telling me go less, so I'm going to say less.
He cost £5.7 million more than Griezmann at 25.7.
That is an absolute... What?
The Premier League
transfer window's dead, isn't it?
Yeah. Kovacic, who went from Chelsea to City. More or less than 25.7.
Yeah.
29.1. Florent Balogun from Arsenal to Monaco. More or less than 29.1.
He'd just come off a really good season, hadn't he? But I don't remember them getting loads for it. I'll say more.
You're right by 900,000
You know what? I was going to say
euros
that.
at 30 million.
Thinking it's more, but it's only just more, I think.
Yeah, it's tough, that one.
Harvey Barnes from Leicester
Leicester
to
would have been
Newcastle.
them for that. Surely it's more. Yeah, of course it is. They did rinse
It's
him
44
completely.
million.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah,
Nathan
Collins.
Right. Nathan Collins from Wolves to Brentford.
Oh, he's less than that.
That's quite a lot.
26.85. And Ollie he was a record signing, I think, for Wolves. I could be corrected. I don't. A record signing for Brentford. Sorry, not. Yeah. Right. Finally, Pau Torres from Villarreal to Villa.
Oh, it was right in there, this fee, if I remember right. I'm gonna go more. Yeah.
You are right at 33 million euros. So there we go. Thanks for listening. I hope we cheered your day up, or at least up that positive vibe, because it's gaming.
We're just a shoulder for you to cry on, while we suffer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's fair. Right. Treat yourself well. And that is the end of an episode. We will be back on Friday to discuss. We will also, as a positive, we'll find out who the Chelsea women's team are taking on in the Champions League quarterfinals as well, because the draw's tomorrow. So, yeah, I'd probably take Bran, because Benfica, they weren't too bad in the group stage. But hey, we'll see. We'll see whatever the draw gives us. So we'll be back on Friday. So till then, that is us signing off.
You've been listening to At The Bridge Pod, a Chelsea FC podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram by searching for At The Bridge Pod. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, leaving us a review is always appreciated.